you have a bunch of toys and your child's favorite toys are the ones that make the most noise possible, you might have an auditory seeker. Today we're going to talk about children that are auditory seeking and auditory avoiding and different things that you can do both in the home and outside the home to help calm these children down. As we've talked about in other videos, and if you look down below, I'll link to them in the notes. These children cannot control this. This is something that they are processing information differently than we do. And so children that are seeking auditory input sometimes are just loud. They are loud and it can be aggravating. And especially if you have auditory avoiders in the home, this can kind of mix like oil and water. So these kids can crash into walls, they might talk too loud, they might love all the noisy toys and love just playing the same thing, the same 5-second DVD clip over and over and over again. This is nourishing, like to their sensory system. They're not perceiving sound the way we do. So if you've ever thought like, it's too quiet in here, like I need something on so I can think, or you're someone that craves some white noise, then you might have a little bit of auditory seeking tendencies as well. I'm Kara from Health, Home, and Happiness. I'm glad you're here. First, we're going to talk about auditory seekers, and then we're going to talk about auditory avoiders. And so if you have one or the other, I encourage you to listen to the whole thing anyway, because we're going to go through it pretty quickly. And even if your child does not fit a particular category, it is likely that it will promote understanding for another child that does. So for our children that love that kind of noise, they most likely are an auditory seeker. Providing extra noise for these kids will calm down their sensory system. So they might, if they're not getting the amount of noise that their body needs to be regulated, they might act out in other ways, which could be like bashing into walls or talking too loud or asking the same question and getting the same response over and over again, playing the same song on repeat. All of these kind of things are behaviors that can kind of come out of children that are just seeking more auditory input. So something that you can do for these kids is allow them to have headphones. So allow them to listen to the radio. Like you might just need quiet, like I need everyone to be quiet right now, but these kids need noise still. Like their system is just not regulated until they get more noise. So this is our auditory seekers. Giving them headphones so they can listen to stuff a little bit more loud than you might think is appropriate, or they can listen to the same sound, like sound effects. There's a bunch of different apps on phones. Like my son has my old iPhone, but you can still download apps to it, and I just have it switched off so he can't download apps and he can't go on the internet, but you can download apps, and they might love all the different sound effect apps, which they can listen to with their headphones on. Then they are being provided with what they need without impacting the rest of the household. So this is something that you can do, like especially these kids have a really hard time being quiet. They feel just kind of like overwhelmed and stressed out by the quietness. So this is just something we can keep in the back of our mind and realize these kids need more noise in their life than we do. And then with our auditory seekers, one more thing that we definitely want to pay attention to is we want to get their ears checked. So a reason that they can want the TV up loud, the music up loud, or crave noise, or talk loud, or say what a lot and ask us the same question over and over again. It can also be hearing loss, and auditory seeking look very similar, especially in young children. So just go ahead and get their ears checked. If everything is great, then you can probably assume that you have an auditory seeker, and just provide a little bit more noise input, and you will see the meltdowns and the so-called bad behavior going way down. And that's just a nice proactive thing that you can do as a parent. It gives you more understanding of their needs. You're able to fill them, and then everything just runs a lot more smoothly. So now we're going to talk about our auditory avoiders. And so our auditory avoiders hear everything too loud. They're too sensitive to sounds. They're just overwhelmed by sounds. So it would be like the equivalent of having a freight train running through your house every 10-15 minutes. Like that's how overwhelming it would be. I think I would cry if I had to deal with that much loud noise that often. So these kids are just, everything is too sensitive. Even though they're hearing, it's not like they're hearing hyper acutely. They can hear just fine at a normal tone. It's just overwhelming to them. So something that you can do to sort of muffle out the noises is have a hat that goes over their ears. That's something that like all winter we can do that. the hats that go over their ears. The little sweatbands that go over their ears might be something that if you don't live in a super cold climate where it's too warm to wear a hat, they can just wear those bands over their ears. Earmuffs or noise canceling headphones as the situation allows, or as it's not going to be too much of an impact on them socially. That might be something that works well for the kids that are auditory avoiding. Auditory avoiding kids also are going to be bothered by the hum of the refrigerator. They're going to be bothered by like having a humidifier going in their room. They're probably going to hear that. So if you can, like, as you have time and as you're just keeping this in mind in the back of your room, like when you choose this child's room, try to choose the most quiet corner of the house. Instead of running a humidifier in their room, maybe you can get a whole house humidifier. White noise is going to be bad. Like having the fan, even the ceiling fan on for these kids is just going to be like overwhelming and stressful to them. And so just kind of keeping that in mind and realizing that, oh, well, this thing that I can barely hear, or I just hear it for a couple seconds and then my brain tunes it out. It's like a buzz. It's like a mosquito buzzing in this child's ear. As much quiet as possible is helpful for these kids. Putting rugs on the floor to absorb excess sound. Putting like even cloth wall hangings on the wall can help absorb sound for these kids so it doesn't echo so much in their room. Just trying to create as quiet of an environment as possible, and then allowing them to cover their ears as needed. And just realizing that the little rattle in the car or the brother singing his ABCs over and over and over again is going to be more stressful for this child than another child. So thanks for joining me. I'm really glad that you're here. Again, I'm Kara from Health, Home, and Happiness. If you want to subscribe, I would love to have you. You can click on my face right there and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing a few more sensory videos. Again, love to have you here. When you subscribe, if you can click that notification bell, then you will be notified. YouTube will email you when I put up new videos. Sensory stuff is some of my favorite because it doesn't take a whole lot of equipment or special training or anything to either reduce or increase the sensory sensations that your child is too sensitive to or not sensitive enough to. And it's just a great way to regulate them, lower the stress in their life, and minimize meltdowns, which makes everybody's life go better. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you back soon.